In your wanderings, you stumble upon a ruined temple buried deep within the heart of the forest. Wary, you continue on through thick overgrowth until you see a clearing that was once an ancient cathedral built by people, now rebuilt by nature itself. In the center is a preserved altar, stacked with various dice of all shapes and colors. As you contemplate what this means, a cloaked figure approaches from the shadows.
Welcome, brave adventurer. Have you come to roll the dice? Explore strange new worlds with new strange rules? If you seek adventure worthy of being shared with good friends, you have come to the right place. Just roll for initiative.
Welcome to the Nat One Nerds podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, everyone.
Hey guys, this is Nat One Nerds. We're coming back to you with a brand new system.
Yep, we are jumping into the Fate Accelerated system.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, but we're trying out something a little new. It's a system that neither one of us have previously played, and we've done a lot of exploring and learning about it, and we're excited to share with you guys what we've learned.
Absolutely. I've definitely listened to a lot of podcasts on the systems. It seems like a really great one, especially for people that haven't done a tabletop role-playing game before. This is a great system to jump into it. It's pretty simple. It's very flexible. Not as many rules necessarily associated with it per se, but it's an amazing system. And we actually have two guests with us today.
Yeah, like I said, we're both new to this, so we brought on a little bit of some expert help to get the ball rolling. So do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Sure, happy to. Name is Christian Randell. I'm coming over with Ned here.
Yes, hello. I am Ned Wilcock. Christian and I are part of Improv Tabletop. We started out doing just Fate Accelerated, improvising everything on the spot. More recently, we've been doing Avatar Legends, and we're moving into a Blades in the Dark campaign. But Fate Accelerated will always have a special place in our hearts because it is, like has already been said, it's a very flexible system that responds well to whatever you want to try and do. And I appreciate as well the sentiment of trying to introduce people to new systems. I think this is a great system to introduce new people to just because it's so easy to step on and so easy to just do whatever you want to do, essentially.
Absolutely, yeah. It's you guys were talking about 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. That is a crunchy system. It's super fun. I love it, but it is certainly daunting for someone who's might just be wanting to dip their toe in.
It takes quite a while to get used to. Like both of us own small libraries on the topic.
Mm-hmm.
Ned, I wouldn't say your library is small at this point.
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
My digital library is pretty big. My physical library is mediocre.
I guess it is fair. Between Parker and I, Parker tends to go more physical, but I do everything digital because I like just having everything right on my laptop.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's different.
I love a good hardcover book in my hands, so I always go for the physical copy.
Which is kind of funny because he has a Fate Accelerated book right in front of him, and I've got a PDF opened up.
Mm-hmm. So one of the great things is if you're trying to build up your library for Fate, you don't have to buy a lot of books.
No, not at all.
Even if you want to get real crazy with it, you don't have to buy a lot of books.
Mm-hmm.
I think I counted recently how many Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition official books there were, and I want to say that there was around roughly 40 books that people could buy.
Sounds about right.
And that's not including all the other other stuff you could potentially buy with it, all the kinds of minis and dice and accessories that you can go absolutely nuts with. So
yeah. Now, as for Fate, how many books do you guys have on Fate? Because I found the core rule books for Fate Core, Fate Accelerated, and stuff like that, but I didn't find very much supplemental material. So what kind of things do you guys rock for that?
Yeah, the Fate Core rulebook, I got this back in 2018, I want to say. It's definitely the biggest of the lot. And what's great about that is the section on the actual rules themselves isn't too much of the game, but there's a lot of it that goes into how to kind of tweak the game to your preferences. And in fact, the fact that we have Fate Accelerated is because when they were doing the Kickstarter for Fate Core back in the day, they were like, there's so many different ways that you can chop and screw Fate to fit exactly what you want. In fact, we're going to release an entire streamlined system that uses all the rules from Fate Core and just condenses them down, and they release that as Fate Accelerated. So at the core of it, like we've got Fate Core, we've got Fate Accelerated, I've got the book for Fate Condensed as well. It all is Fate Core at the core. I guess that's why they call it Fate Core.
That makes
But there's
sense.
just, so many different ways that you can tweak it to express it just the way that's right for your table.
Mhm. I was about to say, I have the Fate Accelerated booklet. I have the Fate Core book, and then I have the Fate Toolkit book.
Yeah,
as
the
well.
Fate System Toolkit, that's a good one.
Yeah, which is funny because I got the toolkit as a gift because I had told people that obviously they know I'm really into TTRPGs. They got me the toolkit, not realizing it was a supplement. So of course I then had to go buy the core rule book and then the Fate Accelerated booklet, and really I just needed the gift of an excuse.
Mhm.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah,
When you're
one-
married, you need an excuse to get into a whole new system.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, one thing I'll just say real quick for the Fate System Toolkit, even aside from Fate specifically as a system, it's got this really awesome section on just how to design a decent magic system that I think the information in that applies to a whole bunch of different games aside from just the one that it's written for.
No, that's the beauty too of just general, tabletop role playing games. There's so many aspects from different systems that can transfer over. A lot of dungeon master or game master tips. A lot of those apply to just about almost any system.
Yeah.
So the cross reference between systems, it's there more than people might assume at the beginning, which is a beautiful thing. So.
It's all collaborative storytelling, so once you get those ideas down, it really just starts to click.
Yep. And then it comes down to just preference, what people like the most.
I mean, when I started out, I always said that tabletop role-playing games were just an organized version of chasing your friends around in the backyard with sticks, pretending to be knights and whatever you want.
The only difference is when your friend says, "I chopped your arm off." Now there are rules saying, "Yes, you did chop my arm off."
And you don't actually get hit in the arm with a stick.
Another big
I mean,
bonus.
depending on your table, I could see some getting a little more into it.
That goes into the LARPing area of the.
I was about to say, when I was a kid, even when we used like foam swords, kids would still find a way to still hurt you, even with the really wimpy foam sword.
Absolutely.
All right, so now that we got a little bit of Fate explained, what's the purpose of our episode here today, Parker?
Well, we're going to be diving into some character creation. And then once we finish character creation, we're going to actually play some Fate.
Sounds good.
And we'll let our two guests take the lead, since we're the
newbies.
We're the Padawans and they're the masters, so we'll follow them.
All right. Well, I am lucky enough to have been selected GM today. We'll start with Ned for character creation, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what that looks like. To start with there, we have decided before we started that we wanted to do kind of a mashup game today. We are feeling in the holiday spirit, so we're definitely going to do something Christmassy. The only stipulation I asked of the players was, would you be willing to have your characters die within the first couple minutes and become the new ghosts of Christmas past, present, and yet to come? So we will start with there, I guess. So Ned, what are you thinking as far as, let's just start with a name.
Yeah, I think I'm having a hard time choosing personally which ghost I eventually want to be. I'm pretty flexible. Do either of you two have any preferences as to which ghost you want to be?
No, I could see kind of my vague character going any three directions personally, so I'm going to trust Christian on that one.
All right. I think because you either get to be kind of a creepy, sad person for the Ghost of Christmas Past, a just creepy, creepy person for the Christmas Future, or an actual, like, decent, happy person, Ghost of Christmas Present. I'm going to be the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, my character is a mailman who, like, are we figuring out how we die as part of the character creation?
If you would like to, I think that's perfectly appropriate.
Yeah, so my character is going to be a mailman by the name of Deggy Pleatsman, and he was out one day, like Christmas Eve, delivering presents, and it was a really bad snowstorm, and he went careening off of an embankment wall and landed in a gulch down below, just trying to get those last presents delivered. He died as a Christmas hero, essentially, but wasn't happy about it. He's kind of a dour individual, and slowly the other Christmas people are trying to instill a bit of the holiday spirit into his heart.
Okay, so Deggy, I do have sort of an odd question for you. What year did you die?
Ooh, hoo, hoo. So we get to have like wide spanning kind of
The,
stuff here.
the afterlife is a little wiggly, so time can be a little fun.
Yeah, I like this. Okay, what year did It's a Wonderful Life come out?
Good call.
It's a Wonderful Life came out in 1946. I'm going to say that's when Deggy perished.
1946, The Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come.
Hmm.
I like it. All right, so we have our name, Deggy Pleatsman. So, Ned, if you want to go ahead and take this next part, as far as approaches go, the breakdown, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, is you get one approach that is +3. You get 2 that are +2, 2 that are +1, and 1 that is +0.
Correct. And approaches are one of the things that I really love about Fate Accelerated specifically. Fate Core is itself a skill-based game. Like, if you've listened to the episodes about 5e, then you know that 5e is a skill-based game. You say, this is the thing that I am trying to accomplish. Whereas the way that approaches work is it's not so much about the thing you're trying to do as it is about the way that you're trying to do that thing. And so we have 6 different approaches: careful, clever, flashy, forceful, quick, sneaky. And as long as you can narratively justify that the action you were trying to take fits one of these approaches, then that is how you kind of move forward. And that really opens it up a lot in terms of the system can respond to whatever you want to do, because you're not limited by your skill set, you're just limited by the ways in which you're trying to solve the problem. The way that we usually track things on Improv Tabletop is we'll start with what our +3 approach is going to be. In Fate, they also call that your peak approach. And I think that Deggy is going to be sneaky. I want Deggy to be a sneaky boy.
Sneaky, that is a good choice. And just for my own interest, I think will be fun. What is your +0? Just so I know what Decky's the
Ooh.
worst at.
I think his +0 is going to be flashy. He doesn't really like to stand out very much.
That makes a lot of sense. It's kind of the opposite of sneaky. Okay.
Hmm.
And now for aspects.
Yes.
There is generally we start with 2 main aspects. There is the high concept, sort of the either one word or short phrase that sort of encapsulates who your character is. That's like the high concept, the main idea of who your character is. Tying back to 5th edition as an example, if you were going to say play a paladin, his high aspect might be holy warrior of the goddess Saloon, and that is who he is.
Kind of similar to a background.
Yeah.
The way that I often like to describe it is it's kind of like an elevator pitch for your character. Like, if you're just trying to tell somebody in a concise manner what your character is all about, then this is kind of what you go with. I'm thinking for Deggy, I kind of want to go with just doing my job as the high concept, because he is a bit of a humbug, but he has a great sense of duty to the US postal system and to making sure that people do get their gifts in time.
Absolutely.
This is the mailman I pray for every day then.
Yeah, didn't get prayed for quite hard enough, though, it sounds like, unfortunately.
The other main aspect that we like to focus on is your trouble. What is the thing your character does that can get them into trouble? Maybe they have a short temper, or they're really greedy, and if they see that shiny object, they're going to have to run after it. So what is Deggy's trouble?
I think his trouble is the dog can't bite you if you bite it first. He has had so many bad experiences with dogs as a mailman. He's decided, like, I'm not going to just be passive and stand idly by and become a chew toy. I'm going to assert myself. This is one area in which he ignores the fact maybe that he has a 0 in flashy and will try to assert himself over those big old chompers.
Good for him. I like that.
I relate to this character now so much just because my day job is as a technician that goes into people's backyards all day long, all over the metro area. So when I approach gates, suddenly the dog starts ramming itself against the gate, and I'm like, nope, not today. And I leave.
Yeah, you just don't get paid enough for that.
No, I do not. So
They give you some Kevlar reinforced uniforms.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I still wouldn't do it.
That kind of brings us. That's kind of a nice segue to our final thing we kind of lay out before the character is completed, and that is a stunt. A stunt can either be an item, like a Kevlar vest, if you want, or some special ability that basically allows you to overcome more or less any thematically appropriate problem once a session.
Yes. The stunt is the area where we on Improv Tabletop kind of play the most fast and loose with the rules. Like, if you look in the Fate core rulebook about how they define stunts, it can get very kind of itemized. Like, I have a stunt that allows me to, when I'm making melee attacks with my sword against a certain type of monster, get +2 to that roll. And that's maybe a little bit boring for what we try to do on Improv Tabletop. So we just kind of boil it down to, for us personally, it works that a stunt is a cool ability that is unique to you as a character, and you can use that once per session to do something kind of superhuman that you might not normally be able to do. And I think I'm just going to call my stunt neither wind, nor snow, nor sleet, nor hail. And so just like once per session, I'll be able to use my sense of dedication to the Flying Eagle, the United States Postal Service, to be able to overcome a situation that might hinder me typically.
I love it. All right. Well, as far as character creation goes, for Fate Accelerated, that is basically it. It really is a quick character creation.
Yeah. In the rulebook rules as written, you can start with 5 aspects for free and 3 stunts for free. But we found, for the most part, in the 15 different Fate campaigns that we've done to this point, you really don't need too much more than just a couple aspects and a stunt. And there's actually on page 9 of the rulebook this little box that they call the 30-second version of creating characters. It's like, hey, give yourself a few aspects, give yourself some approaches, maybe write a stunt, you're good to go. You can fill in the rest as you go along, which is one of the reasons why Fate is such a great improv-friendly system.
So if who's feeling ready to go after that?
I mean, I can give it a shot.
Go for it, man.
All right, let's go ahead and get that down.
All right, so I always like to be a man who puts my hand in fate. So for as which ghost I'm going to be, I took a roll and got a minus. So I'm going to be the ghost of Christmas past.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
For my character, his name is Watsley, and he was an accountant for a large corporation. He worked for a very greedy boss who always tried to fudge the numbers on everything, and he was constantly consumed with trying to balance the books and keep all those past transactions in order, regardless of how ridiculous his boss had been. And he ended up perishing on his way home from work one day when he had too much work in the office, so he was trying to do paperwork while driving home, and he ended up crashing.
Mm,
So he
that'll
Okay,
get you.
I like it. What year did this happen?
I'm going to say he perished in 1987.
Okay, 1987. Perfect. All right. So Watsley, what is going to be their peak approach?
I would have to say his peak approach would be clever, because he had to really think on the spot in order to get his boss out of some of the sticky situations.
That makes a lot of sense. Good call. So the +0. What is Watsley the worst at?
Absolutely forceful. He had no backbone.
Forceful, not very strong-willed, or maybe even strong of body.
Nope.
All right, then the first aspect we'll go to will be the high concept.
I'm going to say my high concept is going to be the numbers must add up. No matter what happens, it has to add up.
I like that kind of. There's some layers to that, things have to be logical, things have to make sense.
Going for kind of a very OCD character.
Okay, I like it. Then, if that's the case, the trouble might be something similar. Even what is the trouble?
Yeah, I was figuring the trouble would be the flip side of that is everything has to be completed in a very meticulous manner that Watsley deems appropriate.
Okay, gotcha. So he, yeah, definitely has to have his systems in place. That makes sense. All right, let me go ahead and get that down. Okay, and do you have an idea for a stunt?
I am not totally sure on these, so I came up with one. You'll have to tell me if it works or not. But my stunt I named Cook the Books. Basically, Watsley is able to change the information of the situation to turn the odds in his favor.
Ooh.
I like that. Now, is Watsley a CPA or a PA? I need to know.
Ooh. I'd say PA.
Okay, so never quite got that certification.
Nah.
So he might have like a special calculator, or maybe that green visor he can put on in a special situation to make sure things get done the way he needs.
I like it.
All right. We'll go ahead and mark that one as complete. So I guess all we have left is write this down here. Ghost of Christmas Present.
All right. So my ghost of Christmas present actually it might end up being the most fitting. My character's name is Sam Turner. He is actually based off the character of Sean Spencer from Psych. Except unlike Sean, who very well knows that he's a fake, Sam is utterly convinced that he is truly psychic, except he's actually not psychic.
I love it.
Yeah, his whole thing is that he's just so good at what he does is that he's almost convinced himself that he truly is psychic. While still having similar abilities, he's just very observant. He's able to, for the most part, piece things together. Put the clues together pretty quick. That is Sam Turner. I would say that he met his end while working on a case with local police. Thought too highly of himself and thought he could read the criminal or the murder suspect right before him, but in the process of trying to do that, he totally miscalculated and he became the second victim in the case. So
Okay, so a more uh, violent perhaps end than the others.
Mm-hmm.
What year did this happen?
oh, it'll probably be more recent. I would say that he met his end in 2001.
Okay, 2001.
Yeah.
Right after Y2K. I like it. All right, and Sam Turner. What is his +3 approach then?
His +3 approach, I would say, is clever. He may be a little overconfident, but he definitely has the skills to get out of most scenarios.
Perfect. That does make sense for someone who's an investigator of sorts. So his +0 would be.
His +0 is actually going to be careful, just because since he wasn't careful in his last case, it ended up being his downfall.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. So your high concept, your distillation of the character, what would that be?
My high concept that I came up with is legendary foresight. He is able to read the room pretty well and be able to gauge what his opponent is going to do next.
I like it. Very Sherlock Holmes, Monk, Sean Spencer. I like it. Then the trouble, I guess, would seem pretty apparent, but how would you say it?
The term I came for his trouble is mythic belief. He
Okay.
thinks way too highly in his skills, while he can get out of a lot of scenarios if he thinks too highly of himself and in his skills and his belief that he truly is psychic. It's not going to turn out well for him.
I love it. All right. And then the stunt.
Ooh, his stunt. Let's see. I would say that his stunt is going to be something along the lines of he's able to know where to go next. He just immediately knows this is the place that we need to get to right here, right now.
I like that. I'm going to call that a broken clock.
I love that.
Broken clock is right twice a day at least. So
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
broken clock, we'll call that one. All right. And really, that's all we need to get started. There are a few more things I'll mention about the setup before we go into it. There's no hit points like D&D 5e. Instead, you have something called stress. You have 6 points of stress you can take. Once you hit 6, then you have consequences. There are some, rules with swapping stress for consequences and consequences for stress. There are mild, moderate, and severe forms of consequences, and they can each absorb a certain amount of stress. The only other thing is you will each be starting with 3 fate points. And fate points you can use to do one of two things. You can either use them to re-roll a roll or to add 2 to a roll. I am a little bit notorious over at Improv Tabletop for never taking the +2. I always re-roll, which
Even when it's not mechanically beneficial.
yeah.
You could say you like to put yourself in the hands of fate.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the name of the game. You get it. You're on my side.
Sorry, I always have terrible dad jokes.
No, I love it. I think it's great.
Mhm.
Nat One Nerds podcast. I'm Brandon,
I'm Parker.
and we really appreciate you guys stopping by to take some time and hang out with us and listen to our thoughts on the system.
If you want to hear more from us, we're on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcast, and Amazon Music currently.
And if you want to reach out to us, we'd love to hear from you on our social media. We have both Facebook and Instagram, and that is at Nat One Nerds Podcast. And we even have an email with nat1nerdspodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your comments, complaints, what you think about the current systems, ideas for new systems. If you want to say hello, anything, we'd love to hear from you guys. This is Nat One Nerds Podcast, signing out.
Happy rolling.